Ukrayna ofisine gideceğiz. Birleşmiş Milletler Nüfus Fonu'nun Ukrayna ofisi, Türkiye ofisiyle aynı bölgede çalışan bir ofis. Ve bizim uluslararası, daha doğrusu bölgesel toplantılarımızda birbirimizden hani etkilendiğimiz hani projeler her zaman oluyor. İşte VADV projesi de, kısaca VADV projesi diyoruz biz bu projeye, Ukrayna ofisinin çok etkilendiği bir proje oldu. Ve geçen sene bu projeyi biz de yapmak istiyoruz dediler. Bugün projenin en başında Ukrayna ofisi ve Ukrayna ofisinin birlikte çalıştığı grup. Oradan bir dostumuz burada, proje yöneticisi Svitlana. Welcome. Şimdi Svitlana'ya şöyle bir soru sormak istiyorum. Çok başındalar bu projenin. Nasıl başladınız uygulamasına bu projenin? Biraz bize özellikle uygulama süreci, yaptığınız işbirlikleri ve özellikle de eyleme çağrı raporu adı verdiğiniz ilk araştırma raporu ile ilgili bilgi verebilir misiniz?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I guess my colleagues from UNFP saw this light in their eyes and were inspired by Turkish experience. And they started looking for some center, for some organization which could provide them expertise and could do the same work. And they found the Center for Corporate Social Responsibility Development. I'm now currently working for this center. The center has a huge experience in doing some researches, starting from responsible for some researches for business. The target group is business. And starting from responsible procurement to some SDG goals, how they could be implemented in business, about the balance between family and the work, and a bit couple of in-our guides and researches. The center was selected as the implementing partner and the work started. The project is it is a young project, started only this year, and will continue in next year, the beginning of next year. And the activities which were planned within this project, it's first of all, it's the survey. Also, we are starting from some analysis of the situation, so it was the survey. Next, it's a guide for the business, mostly for CEO, senior management and HR departments who are mostly responsible for these issues. And next important activity was pledge for business, declaration for gender equality and against domestic violence. And I must say that it was the most difficult activity to be implemented. And also another activity was the International Business Forum to present results, to sign this declaration. And for next couple of months, we plan some trainings for those business, for those companies who sign this pledge. And I would like to share some figures, some results of our research and how we included them in our activities, what was taken into account. Thank you for this. I will stop not so much more on the problem, but I must say that gender equality and domestic violence problem is the same challenge for Ukraine. 5 more years we are fighting for overcoming gender pay gap. Still we have it 22.5% for the first half of this year. Usually it's 22-23, it depends upon the year, but still we have it. And according to the international estimations, countries will need 202 years to overcome this gap, huge period of time. What about domestic violence? Annually, police received more than 200,000 calls to police, but it's only calls, only applications. When it comes to registration of the case or bringing case to the court, the figure is reduced much more time. What about the caregivers? Usually we have women as caregivers to the children, to the adults who are ill or could with themselves. And what about men? Only 1% of our men in the country took child care leaves. However, approximately half of them know about this possibility. This possibility is fixed in our legislation. Also, our men are not such engaged in housework. 15 hours and 29 hours women dedicate to the housekeeping per week. These figures per week. What about domestic violence again? 103.5 thousand days of sick leaves per year our victims of domestic violence have. So, but regarding the business, it's money, it's budget, it's paid for the sick leave or for the day off, it's some delays, it's some overloading of other colleagues with the work of survivors. So coming back to our surveys and our figures, it was about the general figures within the country. We have the survey also could be available through the QR code. It is translated in English. We have the survey, full survey, and we have infographics, brief results of these surveys, so both available in English. Our guide, also part of our activity, just now exists only in Ukrainian, but we are expecting soon to have it in English as well. A couple of words about the survey. It was not typical, it was not face-to-face interview as usually is done. It was online interview, and we should keep in mind that while filling out this form, these questionnaires, people could negotiate, communicate between themselves, asking questions, what do you think, how do you feel, and so on. So some mistakes could be in this survey. 1,000 respondents, majority of them were women. More active were Ukrainian domestic companies. The lowest activities was from Ukrainian state enterprises. Figures. 24% of respondents told that they're victims of domestic violence. And there is one more figure. 4% refused to respond to this question. There was only two options, yes or no. It means that these 4% are also victims of domestic violence, so not 24, but 28. To be compared with another figure, 41% of their colleagues, they discovered some signs of domestic violence. So it means that approximately half of the personnel of the staff has suffered from one of the types of domestic violence. Mostly people reported about psychological violence, 19%. 2% about sexual violence as well. We didn't know whether it was the top management or the usual workers. It doesn't matter, but it exists. In Ukraine, every fifth, according to another survey, every fifth woman is suffered from the domestic violence. Now we have 1/4 of the staff. Does it mean that domestic violence influenced the workplace, the business, the company? Yes. Why? 1/3 of cases reached the victim of domestic violence and their colleagues at the office. In what way? Perpetrator came to the office. It was 8% of stalking and harassing, some persistent calls, SMS, waiting for the victim in front of the entrance or somewhere on the transport stations. Also some colleagues who were trying to protect victims. We have 2% of them who reported about some injuries received or threat received. So in my vision, they tried to shoot to protect these victims from the perpetrator who came to the work. Approximately half of victims, they were fatigued, they could not concentrate on their work, and it means that other colleagues should implement this work instead of them, or when they found some mistake, they should improve the document or rewrite or something like this. Approximately 78% agreed that domestic violence influenced the professional work. It's just from the general respondents who participated in the survey. However, victims told us, approximately 60% of victims told us that domestic violence did not influence the working process. In compare with the 78 those who possibly implemented work, or instead of survivors being on sick leave or like checking for mistakes or implementing the obligations, they told us that it influenced. Okay. Also, I would like to stress on one important figure that approximately half of the staff told that they see a need in necessary corporate policies to protect them from the domestic violence, improve their lives, starting from additional sick days off to possibly some trainings, informational campaign. I will not stop on these figures because the survey was dedicated to gender equality and domestic violence, and I started from the domestic violence because it's the main target of today's meeting. But also I would like to stress that 8% of applications were rejected because of gender, so majority of them are women. 77 agreed that we have a disaggregation on male and female professions, and it means that employer gives priority to men or women. Also, I will not stop on these figures. I will stop on the important step on the pledge declaration. It's a picture of the original of the document. From left side we have the text of this declaration. From the right side it's titles of the companies who signed, and it is expected signature from the representative of the company. What is about the pledge? About SDG Goal 5 and